The next suspension is the 2-3 suspension. And remember that 2-3 suspensions occur in the bass. So the bass is the one that must be prepared and then resolved down by step. There are really only two possibilities, and then one of those two has kind of an A and a B portion to it. So the first one is when you get a 4-2 sonority on the beat. And then because the bass resolves down, it creates a fifth and then a third between the upper voices. So we're going to have these actually resolve to a G. So the suspension is in the bass part. So remember that we need to prepare and then resolve down by step. And then we want to put the suspension right here. So that means we're going to put our second and our fourth above this A, which means then that the middle voice is going to have a B, and the upper voice is going to have a fourth above A is a D. And then if we put in our intervals, we see that this creates the 2-3 suspension. This is a fourth. This one is the fourth. And it sounds like this. And you can see that when this resolves, it creates a fifth with the top voice and a third with this voice. The variation of that is when the top voice moves as well. So let's take a look at that one. The bass is going to be exactly the same. So we're going to put our suspension figure in the bass, prepare, resolve down by step. It still has to form a 2-3 suspension. So the middle voice is going to stay exactly the same on a B, but the upper voice is going to change. So we're going to start off with a 4, so starting on D, but then it's going to resolve up to E. And if we put in our intervals with that, here is our 2-3 suspension. This will stay the same. Notice that this is a fourth, but then when it moves, it creates a sixth above the bass. So this sounds like this. The final possibility for the suspension is a 5-2 on the beat, which when the bass resolves will create a 6-3 sonority. So this is very similar to the one we just did, but just has a different note in the top voice. So the suspension voice is exactly the same. Prepared, resolved down by step. It still has to form a 2-3, which means that the middle voice is still on a B here. But this time, the top voice is on an E. And let me move this. This is what it ends up being when we put the intervals here. This is still our 2-3 suspension. Right, it forms a second here, but then when that resolves down, it forms a third. But then notice from here to here is actually a fifth, that when this resolves becomes a sixth. So let's listen to this one. So those are your three possibilities for 2-3 suspensions. And remember that the 2-3 suspension always occurs in the lowest voice. Practice writing those on every note so you get used to them and it becomes easy.